The southern portion of the North American continent, consisting of Mexico and the 7 nations that make up Central America, is a region noted for its beautiful, rugged scenery and for its warm, tropical climate as well. A majority of the people who live here are known as mestizos, and they embody a blending of Native American and European ethnicities. Roman Catholicism is the predominant religion in this part of the world, and Spanish is the official language throughout most of this territory. Nevertheless, several native languages, including various Mayan dialects, are spoken here as well. English is the main language in just one small country. About 3/4 of the population in this part of North America live in densely populated urban areas with 50,000 or more residents. The others live in small rural towns where livelihoods depend on farming. The most important crops raised here are sugarcane, bananas, coffee beans, pineapples, and maize or corn, an important food plant that was originally domesticated in Mexico. Mexico and Central America are well known for their lush tropical rainforests and for the rich diversity of their animal and plant life. And this area is also famous for its incredible ancient civilizations and the ruins of the cities they left behind. The southern region of the North American continent lies between the United States and the country of Colombia, which is where the continent of South America begins. The land here shrinks from being thousands of kilometers, or over 2,000 miles wide at the U.S.-Mexico border, down to a narrow strip of land called the Isthmus of Panama that can be crossed in just a few hours by car. The Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of California lie to the west of the region, while the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea lie to its east. The 8 countries found here are Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and finally, Panama. On the continent of North America, Mexico lies directly south of the United States, with the Rio Grande forming much of the natural boundary between the two countries in the east, while long fences often define the border further west. In terms of land area, Mexico is the 3rd largest country in North America after Canada and the United States. And it is also the largest Spanish-speaking nation in the world. The Tropic of Cancer divides Mexico into temperate and tropical zones. The land to the north of the tropic experiences colder temperatures during the winter months, while in the south, the temperatures are fairly constant year-round and change mostly according to elevation. Mexico is well known for its beautiful beaches, and people flock to them from all over the world seeking sunshine and warm, pleasant water. So tourism is a big business in Mexico, and it makes a significant contribution to its economy. Mexico's economy is the 15th largest in the world. It is the world's 10th largest oil producer. Its huge mining operations make it the world's leading silver producer. And big Mexican factories turn out a wide variety of products, including many of the cars made in North America. Mexico is home to over 119 million people, making it by far the most populous country in the southern region of North America. And although poverty, corruption, and drug crimes have long been serious problems in many Mexican cities, conditions are slowly improving. Mexico City, the nation's capital, with a metropolitan area of over 20 million people, is the largest city in North America. It was founded on the ruins of the Aztec city of Tenochtitlan after Hernán Cortés and his soldiers destroyed it following the Spanish conquest of Mexico that began in 1519. But even though the Aztec capital was virtually demolished by the invaders, many incredible stone carvings and buildings created by Mexico's great earlier civilizations, such as those of the Olmecs, the Maya, the Toltecs, and the builders of the great city of Teotihuacan, still remained at the time of the conquest, just as they do today. For 3 centuries, Mexico City served as the capital of one of Spain's most important overseas dominions, the Viceroyalty of New Spain. Its territories extended far to the north, deep into what is today the United States, as well as into the Caribbean Sea, and even far across the Pacific Ocean to the Philippine Islands of Asia. The Spanish conquerors came looking for gold, but they also sought to introduce their own Catholic faith, language, laws, architectural styles, and their European way of life wherever they colonized. But as this old painting shows, in Mexico and much of the rest of the New World, huge numbers of the native people were wiped out by diseases like smallpox and measles that the Spaniards inadvertently transmitted to them. However, most of those who survived eventually gave up their traditional ways, languages, and religious practices and came to embrace the Catholic faith. And that's why Spanish-style Catholic churches and other religious buildings are so commonplace in Mexican towns. Even so, some ancient traditional ceremonies and practices still survive in Mexico. One very interesting example of this is the Dance of the Flyers, an ancient ceremony in which the dancers spin around, upside down, high up in the air, while playing musical instruments. According to legend, this dance was created as a way of asking the gods to end a severe drought. The 7 countries that make up Central America lie between the South American nation of Colombia and southern border of Mexico. The first of these countries, Belize, is located on the Caribbean Sea on the low-lying hilly lands along the southern side of the Yucatan Peninsula. Belize is the second smallest Central American nation in land area and is its smallest nation in terms of population, with only about 345,000 inhabitants. From 1862 to 1981, Belize was a colony of Great Britain called British Honduras, and it is because of its colonial heritage that Belize is the only nation in Central America whose official language is English. Even though its lands are quite sparsely populated, a number of different ethnic groups, including many people of African, as well as Mayan and European descent, call Belize home. A series of barrier islands and extensive coral reefs run along the Caribbean coastline of Belize. The rich diversity of marine life that inhabit these reefs attract scuba divers and snorkelers, who travel here in large numbers to enjoy the warm, clear waters and the seemingly endless parade of colorful fish. The Republic of Guatemala is the most populous country in Central America and is home to almost 16 million people. Guatemala City is the nation's capital and its largest city. In addition to Spanish, over 20 different languages are spoken here. This is because various indigenous groups of Mayan ancestry make up a large percentage of Guatemala's population. From 1960 to 1996, in what is now a fairly peaceful country, a bloody civil war resulted in the destruction of 450 Maya villages, the deaths of 200,000 Maya people, and the displacement of 1 million other Guatemalans. However, since the end of their civil war, Guatemala has experienced both democratic elections and economic growth. but high rates of poverty and crime are still big problems here. These Guatemalan girls are making tortillas from maize flour. The tortilla is an extremely commonplace food that is eaten nearly every day in their country. Tortillas are consumed warmed up and fresh or cooked. Either way, they can be used to hold a wide array of delicious toppings and salsas, and they always help to make a nice meal. In Guatemala, the Maya wear traditional hand-woven clothing in colors and designs that indicate the particular community from which they come. Most of the Maya are quite poor, and they rarely own cars. So in order to get from place to place, they rely on walking or on inexpensive pickup truck buses like this one. But sometimes, small motorcycle-powered taxis are used for getting around. Thousands of years ago, the ancestors of the modern-day Maya built the famous city of Tikal, seen here, which is located in eastern Guatemala near its border with Belize. Tikal was for many centuries a major religious and trading center of the ancient Mayan civilization. Guatemala's Lake Atitlan, seen here, is the deepest lake in Central America and was formed 84,000 years ago by an enormous volcanic eruption. Its shores are home to large numbers of Mayan people. Most of them are farmers, and many raise coffee, Guatemala's primary export crop. The city of Antigua, Guatemala, founded in 1543, is a treasure trove of old colonial Spanish architecture. This is because for many years, Antigua served as the capital of the Kingdom of Guatemala, which was a district of the enormous Viceroyalty of New Spain. The Kingdom of Guatemala once encompassed almost all of Central America and part of southern Mexico as well. Like many other towns and cities in Central America, Antigua has experienced repeated violent earthquakes and has been severely damaged numerous times. The reason for much of this destruction can be traced to the fact that a very active volcano called Volcán de Fuego, the volcano of fire, towers above the city. The Republic of El Salvador is the smallest nation in Central America in land area, but is its most densely populated country as well, with a population of over 6 million people. The country's capital and largest city is San Salvador, seen here. Its neighbor, the Republic of Honduras, is home to more than 8 million people and occupies 5 times as much territory as El Salvador. The capital and largest city of Honduras is Tegucigalpa. The major agricultural products of El Salvador are coffee, followed by cotton and maize, while Honduras's main products are bananas and coffee. Both Honduras and El Salvador were provinces of the Spanish Kingdom of Guatemala up until 1821, so the streets and towns of both countries are filled with old buildings that remind us of their colonial heritage. Long before the Spanish arrived here nearly 500 years ago, their lands were the site of a number of Mayan cities. Copan, seen here, is located in one of the tropical forests of Honduras, not far from its border with Guatemala. Copan was the capital of a major Mayan kingdom for 4 centuries, but it was more or less abandoned over 1,000 years ago. El Salvador is home to Tazumal, another important Mayan city. Over the past few decades, all of the northernmost nations of Central America, as well as Mexico, have experienced significant amounts of violence, fueled primarily by a huge illegal drug trade. Honduras, for example, has the dubious distinction of having the world's highest death rate by murder. And it is also one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. El Salvador is more prosperous, but violent crime rates are still rising, and the small nation is approaching Honduras in the number of deaths by murder. Drug violence in El Salvador and Honduras, as well as Guatemala, is such a big problem that many impoverished people are fleeing their countries and are trying to cross the border into the U.S. or Mexico, often illegally, in order to build safer, more secure lives. The Republic of Nicaragua is a warm, tropical, primarily agricultural country lying just to the south of El Salvador and Honduras. Nicaragua is home to approximately 6 million people. Its capital, Managua, with almost 1 million inhabitants, is the third largest city in Central America. Nicaragua is still one of Latin America's least developed countries. More than 80% of its poor live in remote rural areas with little access even to the most basic services. Over the years, the people of Nicaragua have experienced poverty, war, and dictatorship. But today, economic growth of over 4%, a steady growth of exports, and long-term government stability seem to have finally taken hold in their nation. Nicaragua is a place where farmers raise papayas, sugarcane, cattle, bananas, and all sorts of other crops on soil that has been enriched by the ash from its numerous volcanoes, 19 of which are still active. Like so many other countries in Central America, coffee is Nicaragua's principal export crop. In addition to its rich farmlands, about 1/5 of the territory of Nicaragua has been set aside for national parks and nature reserves due to the rich diversity of animal and plant life found there. Christopher Columbus was the first European to reach what is now the nation of Nicaragua around the year 1502. This event happened during his fourth voyage to the New World, when he sailed along the Caribbean coastline of Central America and explored the eastern lowland region that today is known as the Mosquito Coast. This is an area where fishing boats like this one can be seen catching shrimp and lobster. The local fishermen usually bring their catches to eastern port towns like Bluefields, seen here, for processing. Nicaragua is well known for having the largest freshwater lakes in Central America. Lake Managua is the smaller, and the much larger Lake Nicaragua lies to its south. Lake Nicaragua is unique because it is the only lake in the world that has saltwater fish like sharks, swordfish, and tarpon, along with lots of freshwater fish. The island seen here is the largest of over 400 islands in Lake Nicaragua. It is made up of 2 volcanoes, one of which is still active. A sea route running through Lake Nicaragua, meant to rival the Panama Canal further south, is now being developed. Although there is a lot of skepticism that it will ever be completed, the new canal is planned to be operational sometime in the 2020s. It is being financed by wealthy investors from the prosperous Chinese city of Hong Kong. The Nicaraguan Canal will accommodate much wider ships than the existing Panama Canal. Unfortunately, after the new canal is completed, the water of Lake Nicaragua will probably be subjected to increased pollution and contamination by seawater, which could endanger its unusual ecosystem. Granada, seen here, is the largest town on Lake Nicaragua. Founded by the Spanish in 1524, Granada is the oldest city in Central America. Amazingly, this city was almost 300 years old when Nicaragua achieved its independence from Spain way back in 1821. The small mountainous country known as the Republic of Costa Rica lies just to the south of Nicaragua and just to the north of Panama. Costa Rica's population consists of about 4.5 million people. the majority of whom are of European ancestry. Nearly a quarter of all Costa Ricans live in San Jose, the capital and largest city of the country. Many of them work in computer research and development or in the pharmaceutical business. Costa Rica has no army, and yet it is the most stable, well-educated, and one of the most prosperous nations in Central America, and is very well known for its outstanding efforts on behalf of environmental preservation. In fact, 25% of the entire country is made up of national parks and protected areas, the largest percentage of any nation in the world. Many of these areas are in its rugged volcanic mountains. 61 of these volcanoes are currently dormant, but 6, such as Arenal, seen here, are still active. The slopes of many of these mountains are covered with dense rainforests where thousands of different plant species grow, and where all kinds of insects, such as leafcutter ants, and big morpho butterflies like this one are found. Near the base of the Arenal volcano, a steaming river of very hot water runs through the lush tropical forest. Costa Rica is home to 4 species of monkeys, including the very vocal and quite loud howler monkeys seen here. And Costa Rica is also home to the slow-moving 3-toed sloth. Over 840 species of birds live here, including colorful toucans, parrots, and scarlet macaws. Costa Rica is quite a hotspot of biological diversity for reptiles and amphibians, too. So on a visit here, you could easily see a wide variety of iguanas, both large and small, up in the trees. And the waters off its coasts are home to several species of sea turtles, too. Costa Rica's rainforests also host a number of small but very colorful frogs, some of which are quite poisonous to the touch. The 3 main cash crops in Costa Rica are bananas, pineapples, and coffee, which is its 3rd leading agricultural export. But the government's focus on protecting the nation's beautiful natural environment and promoting ecotourism are now more economically important than all its agricultural exports combined. In fact, by 2012, tourism accounted for 12.5% of Costa Rica's entire gross national product, and it was responsible for about 12% of its employment, both directly and indirectly. This emphasis on ecotourism has had far-reaching beneficial effects on other sectors of the economy and has helped diminish poverty in Costa Rica. Lying just to the south of Costa Rica is North America's southernmost country, the Republic of Panama. Its capital and largest city is Panama City, whose metropolitan area is inhabited by nearly half of that nation's 3.6 million people. Panama is home to the Panama Canal, currently the only waterway across Central America, providing a route between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Before the canal was constructed, ships had to make the very long and dangerous journey all the way around South America in order to travel between the 2 oceans. So using the canal eliminates many thousands of miles of travel today. Building a canal through Panama had long been dreamed of, primarily because the Isthmus of Panama is the narrowest part of the North American continent. But the nation's dense jungles, hot, humid climate, tropical diseases, and rugged terrain made realizing that dream a tremendous challenge. After an attempt by France that began back in 1881 to build the canal failed, the United States undertook the project and began formal construction in 1904. Over the next 10 years, a complex system of locks, dams, and a large man-made lake, Lake Gatun, began to take shape. And on August 15, 1914, the Panama Canal finally opened. Since that time, this waterway has played a major role in the development of our modern, globalized economy. In fact, today, 4% of all the world's trade goods are transported through it. The canal remained a possession of the United States up until 1999, when it was finally turned over to Panama. Revenue from canal fees produce a significant portion of the country's national income today. But Panama's growing focus on commerce and banking has made its economy the fastest growing in all of Central America, and its citizens the most financially well off. Rugged mountains and vast highland plateaus make up much of the landmass of Mexico and Central America. On the Pacific side of Mexico, the Sierra Madre Occidental, seen here, with an average elevation of around 2,800 meters, or 8,500 feet, is the main western mountain range. They start in the northernmost state of Sonora and run near the west coast for almost half the length of the country. Lush forests typically cover the lower portions of these mountains on the coastal side. This is due to the fact that moisture-laden clouds coming off the Pacific Ocean usually condense when they encounter the cooling mountains, and so they end up dropping most of their precipitation on the western side. As a result, not nearly as much rain falls on the opposite interior-facing slopes. So on that side of the mountain range, the vegetation tends to be much more sparse than on the Pacific side. In eastern Mexico, not far from the Rio Grande, the shallow, slow-moving river that forms the country's boundary with the United States in this area, another big mountain range called the Sierra Madre Oriental, with an average elevation of 2,250 meters or 7,400 feet, runs north to south for about 1,000 kilometers, or over 600 miles. Both the eastern and the western Sierra Madre ranges end in what is called the Trans-Mexican Volcanic Belt. This range runs for 1,000 kilometers from west to east and contains Pico de Orizaba, Mexico's tallest peak, which is more than 5,600 meters, or over 18,000 feet high. Another western range, the Sierra Madre del Sur, with an average elevation of about 2,200 meters, rises from the southern side of the volcanic belt. This range is made up of a collection of standalone clusters of mountains, many of which lie right along the Pacific Ocean. Even further south, the Sierra Madres continue into western Central America as yet another range called the Sierra Madre de Chiapas. These mountains start in the southernmost Mexican state of Chiapas and run through Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. The dormant Guatemalan volcano, Volcán San Pedro, seen here as well as the active volcano, Volcán de Fuego, are both in the Sierra Madre de Chiapas range. Beginning at the Nicaraguan border are the two southernmost mountain ranges of North America, Cordillera Guanacaste in Costa Rica and Cordillera Talamanca in both Costa Rica and Panama. The active volcano called Arenal, seen here, is in the Cordillera Guanacaste range. In 1968, it unexpectedly erupted, destroying a small nearby town. The slopes of both of these southernmost ranges are home to beautiful tropical rainforests, where a diverse collection of exotic birds and other animals live. The most populated portions of Central America and Mexico are located in highland areas, roughly over 800 meters, or 2,400 feet above sea level, but lower than the mountains which generally surround them. For example, Mexico's largest and most populated highland area is its broad central plateau, which lies between the western and eastern Sierra Madre mountain ranges. This region is home to Guadalajara, Mexico's second-largest city, and to Mexico City, which, with a population of 20 million people, is the biggest city on the North American continent. More than half of Central America's capitals, including Guatemala City, Guatemala, San Salvador, El Salvador, Tegucigalpa, Honduras, and San Jose, Costa Rica, are located on high plateaus as well that are often ringed by towering mountains. The preference for the higher elevations in this part of the world is partially due to the generally pleasant year-round climate found there. The highlands are also attractive because fertile soil created from ancient volcanic ash, coupled with the mild temperatures and well-defined wet and dry seasons, make them ideal for all kinds of agriculture too. While much of Mexico and Central America is mountainous and frequently covered with very lush vegetation, a variety of desert areas are also present in this region. One of the most interesting of these is the Sonoran Desert. It occupies a majority of Mexico's Baja California Peninsula, extends northward around the Gulf of California into the United States, and covers much of the western part of the Mexican state of Sonora. The Sonoran Desert is the hottest desert in North America, with summer temperatures reaching as high as 56 degrees Celsius or 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Nevertheless, it is home to over 350 species of birds, 100 different species of reptiles, and 60 different species of mammals. Generally speaking, deserts are very dry places that receive less than 10 inches or 250 millimeters of moisture per year. But the Sonoran Desert, while dry in most parts, can receive substantial amounts of rain, especially during the occasional summer monsoons. As a result, this desert can get fairly lush in places. A great variety of plant life grows here, including lots of impressive cactus plants. In fact, the giant saguaro cacti seen here are the most famous plants in this desert and grow nowhere else in the world. Lying just to the east of the Sonoran Desert is the Chihuahuan Desert, the second largest desert in North America. It is located on the northern portion of Mexico's Central Plateau, mostly in the state of Chihuahua, and extends into the United States in Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. The location of the Chihuahuan Desert between Mexico's western and eastern Sierra Madre mountain ranges results in its diminished rainfall, amounting to only 10 inches or 250 millimeters per year. Because the Chihuahuan Desert lies at relatively high elevation, more than 2,000 feet or 600 meters, its daytime temperatures are very hot during the summer. But during the winter, and sometimes at night, they can drop below freezing. The Chihuahuan Desert has very few trees and is home mostly to scrubby bushes, grasses, yucca plants, and various types of small cacti. The Rio Grande, seen here, runs through the northern part of the Chihuahuan Desert. The lowland areas of southern North America present quite a contrast to the dry, sparsely vegetated deserts of Mexico. This is especially true in the eastern part of this region. That's because here, these usually flat or low hilly lands are very green and lush all year round. Nearly the entire nation of Belize lies in the eastern lowlands of the Yucatan Peninsula, the large landmass that divides the Gulf of Mexico from the Caribbean Sea in this part of the world. This particular lowland area is especially significant because it's where the great ancient civilizations of Mesoamerica got their start. the heartland of the Olmec civilization, considered to be the parent civilization of many of them, flourished in Mexico's southeastern lowlands from around 1600 to 400 BC. And later, between 200 to 900 AD, the Maya civilization took hold here as well. And much of this lowland area was dotted with many of the most important Maya cities, such as Tikal, seen here, which is located in the eastern lowlands of Guatemala. Today, these low-lying areas of the east are less populated than other areas of the region due to their high heat and humidity, vulnerability to powerful storms, and to the prevalence of mosquito-borne diseases such as malaria and dengue fever. Compared to the eastern lowlands, the western Pacific lowlands are fairly small, except in the northernmost Sonoran Desert region. But the Pacific lowlands are actually much more populated than those in the east, especially in Central America, where they are home to two very large cities, Managua, Nicaragua, and Panama City, Panama. The hard outermost shell of our planet, known as the lithosphere, is not actually a single mass of material, but one that is broken up into 7 or 8 huge tectonic plates and many minor ones. These plates essentially float on the Earth's hot underlying layer, called the asthenosphere. Due to the continual movement of the tectonic plates, friction occurs, and volcanic activity, mountain building, ocean trench formation, and earthquakes are frequently the result. In the southern region of North America, the huge Pacific Plate, as well as the much smaller Rivera, Cocos, and Nazca plates, actively collide with the North American and Caribbean plates, creating what are known as convergent boundaries all along the Pacific coast. A convergent boundary is an active region where 2 or more tectonic plates are moving toward one another. A subduction zone occurs along a convergent boundary when one tectonic plate moves under another tectonic plate, sinking deeper into the Earth's mantle. Off much of the west coast of Mexico and Central America, these collision sites have created the Middle America Trench, a deep canyon on the ocean's floor, which results from the giant subduction zone that is active here. The subduction process can also push molten rock or magma up through the Earth's surface, creating active volcanoes and frequent earthquakes. The numerous volcanic mountains in the western parts of Mexico and Central America, such as those surrounding Guatemala City, seen here, were all created in this way. The word Mesoamerica is frequently used when referring to a territory extending from central Mexico to northern Costa Rica, within which a number of great ancient civilizations flourished before the era of Spanish colonization began in the early 1520s. The earliest Mesoamerican tribes domesticated the wild grass known as teosinte, breeding it to produce the large edible seeds of the plants that we now call maize or corn. In addition, they domesticated beans, chili peppers, and squash plants. Dogs and turkeys were domesticated in Mesoamerica too. The development of agriculture allowed permanent villages to be established in Mesoamerica because a reliable source of food became available, so hunting and gathering became much less important. Over time, the villagers acquired certain skills associated with a civilized way of life, such as advanced techniques in the arts and in building. One such cultural group, the Olmec people, are considered to be the parent civilization, from which many of the region's later civilizations arose. They were dominant from around 1600 to 400 BC in Mexico's southeastern lowlands, around the Coatzacoalcos River system. The Olmec are best remembered for the large stone heads they carved, but they also left evidence of a glyph system of writing that probably influenced the cultures that followed. Perhaps the greatest of these cultures were the Maya, who dominated the region between about 200 to 900 AD. They occupied both the highlands and lowlands from southern Mexico all the way to Honduras and El Salvador, and built many major cities, such as Chichen Itza in Mexico, seen here, and the glorious city of Tikal, which stands in the lowland jungles of nearby Guatemala. The Maya are best known for their incredible stone temples and elaborate stone carvings. The Maya developed a system of numbers, a written language, and a calendar. During a portion of the period that the Maya were most active in the southern part of Mesoamerica, the great city of Teotihuacan, seen here, was thriving to the north in central Mexico. Founded around 100 BC, it is estimated to have had a population of around 125,000 or more people before it was abandoned for unknown reasons around 800 years later. About 4 centuries after that, in 1325, another great city, called Tenochtitlan, that later became the center of the Aztec Empire, began to be constructed in the middle of Lake Texcoco, just 40 miles or 66 kilometers from the site of Teotihuacan. Starting in the 1370s, the Aztec Empire slowly spread across Mesoamerica. And as it did, Tenochtitlan grew in size until its population reached between 200 and 300,000 people, making it one of the largest cities in the world at that time. The Aztecs were a powerful tribe, well known for their strong warriors and for using human sacrifice as part of their religion. In 1519, ships carrying Spanish troops led by the conquistador Hernán Cortés arrived on the coast of Mexico. Shortly after that, the Aztec capital city came under attack, and just 3 years later, Tenochtitlan fell to the conquistadors and was later demolished. Mexico City, the largest city in North America, was constructed on its ruins.